Hurricane Titan. The name itself evokes images of immense power and destruction. In the annals of meteorological history, this storm stands alone, a chilling testament to the raw force of nature. Its winds, exceeding any previously recorded, howled a terrifying symphony of destruction. Titan shattered records, leaving a trail of devastation that will be remembered for generations to come. The storm's sheer size dwarfed previous hurricanes, its swirling mass covering an area larger than many countries. Satellite images depicted a monstrous vortex, its eye a dark, ominous void at the heart of the tempest. As it churned across the Atlantic, Titan gathered strength, fueled by unusually warm ocean waters. The world watched in disbelief as the storm intensified, its trajectory aimed squarely at the vulnerable Caribbean islands. Meteorologists struggled to comprehend the scale of the unfolding disaster. Titan defied predictions, growing exponentially in both size and intensity. The scientific community grappled with the implications of such a powerful storm, recognizing it as a potential harbinger of a future shaped by climate change. The unprecedented nature of Titan raised alarming questions about the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. The world held its breath, bracing for the inevitable impact. Coastal communities battened down the hatches, evacuations were ordered, and emergency services were put on high alert. The sheer magnitude of the approaching storm instilled a sense of dread and uncertainty. Titan was not just a hurricane, it was a force of nature, unlike anything seen before. Titan's origins could be traced back to a seemingly innocuous cluster of thunderstorms off the coast of Africa. These storms, fueled by warm, moist air rising from the ocean's surface, began to organize and rotate. As the system moved westward, it encountered a confluence of favorable atmospheric conditions, low wind shear, high humidity, and exceptionally warm ocean temperatures. These factors created a perfect breeding ground for the nascent hurricane. The storm rapidly intensified, its winds picking up speed as it drew energy from the warm ocean waters. Within days, the once insignificant cluster of thunderstorms had transformed into a swirling vortex of immense power. Titan was born. The storm's intensification was unprecedented. Meteorologists watched in astonishment as Titan's wind speeds climbed at an alarming rate. The Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, the standard metric for classifying hurricane intensity, seemed inadequate to capture the sheer power of this storm. Titan quickly surpassed Category 5, the highest classification on the scale. As Titan churned across the Atlantic, it continued to gather strength. The warm ocean waters, superheated by climate change, provided an endless source of fuel. The storm's eye, a clear, calm center surrounded by a wall of towering thunderstorms, grew larger and more ominous. Titan was on a collision course with the Caribbean, and its destructive potential was terrifying. The scientific community scrambled to understand the factors contributing to Titan's unprecedented growth. Warm ocean temperatures played a crucial role, providing the energy that fueled the storm's intensification. Climate change, driven by human activities, has led to a significant increase in ocean temperatures, creating ideal conditions for the formation and intensification of hurricanes. Another contributing factor was the lack of wind shear. Wind shear, the change in wind speed and direction with height, can disrupt the structure of a hurricane, preventing it from strengthening. In Titan's case, the absence of significant wind shear allowed the storm to maintain its towering structure and continue to draw energy from the ocean. Atmospheric moisture also played a critical role. Warm air can hold more moisture than cold air, and the increased humidity in the atmosphere provided ample fuel for the storm's thunderstorms. These thunderstorms, which form the swirling bands around the eye of a hurricane, release latent heat as water vapor condenses, further intensifying the storm. The combination of these factors, warm ocean temperatures, lack of wind shear, and high atmospheric moisture, created a perfect storm, literally. Titan became a textbook example of how climate change can exacerbate extreme weather events, leading to more powerful and destructive hurricanes. The Caribbean islands were the first to bear the brunt of Titan's fury. The storm's unprecedented winds and torrential rains unleashed a wave of destruction across the region. Small island nations, particularly vulnerable to the impacts of hurricanes, were devastated. Homes were reduced to rubble, infrastructure was crippled, and entire communities were left in ruins. The storm surge, a massive wall of water pushed ashore by the hurricane's winds, inundated coastal areas, causing widespread flooding. The surge, exacerbated by rising sea levels due to climate change, reached unprecedented heights, submerging entire islands. The force of the water tore apart buildings, uprooted trees, and swept away everything in its path. Emergency response efforts were hampered by the scale of the disaster. Communication systems were down, roads were impassable, and access to many affected areas was limited. International aid organizations mobilized to provide assistance, but the sheer magnitude of the devastation made it difficult to reach everyone in need. The Caribbean islands faced a long and arduous road to recovery. The destruction wrought by Titan served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of small island nations to the impacts of climate change. The international community rallied to support the affected communities, but the scars of the storm would remain for years to come. Section 5. Economic fallout, oil, shipping and global markets. The economic repercussions of Hurricane Titan extended far beyond the Caribbean. The storm disrupted major shipping routes, impacting global trade and commerce. Ports were closed, cargo ships were stranded, and supply chains were disrupted, causing delays and shortages of goods around the world. The Gulf of Mexico, a major hub for oil and gas production, was also severely affected. Offshore oil platforms were shut down, refineries were damaged, and pipelines were disrupted, leading to a spike in oil prices and concerns about energy security. The economic losses to the energy sector were estimated to be in the billions of dollars. The tourism industry, a vital source of income for many Caribbean islands, was decimated. Hotels and resorts were damaged or destroyed, beaches were eroded, and tourist attractions were closed, leading to widespread job losses and economic hardship. The long-term impact on the tourism sector was uncertain, but the recovery process was expected to be lengthy and challenging. The global insurance industry faced massive claims in the wake of Titan. The scale of the destruction exceeded initial estimates, and insurance companies struggled to cope with the influx of claims. The storm highlighted the increasing vulnerability of coastal communities to extreme weather events and the need for better risk assessment and disaster preparedness. Section 6. A city under siege, Miami braces for impact. As Titan churned northward, the city of Miami braced for impact. Evacuation orders were issued, and residents fled inland, seeking refuge from the approaching storm. Highways were clogged with traffic as people desperately tried to escape the projected path of the hurricane. Miami, a major coastal metropolis, was particularly vulnerable to the storm surge and high winds. Emergency services were put on high alert, preparing for the worst. Hospitals stocked up on supplies, shelters were opened, and rescue teams were deployed to strategic locations. The city's infrastructure, including its drainage systems and power grid, was put to the test. The mayor of Miami issued a dire warning, urging residents to take the threat seriously and heed evacuation orders. The atmosphere in the city was tense. Stores were boarded up, streets were deserted, and an eerie silence hung over the usually bustling metropolis. The impending arrival of Titan cast a pall over the city as residents anxiously awaited the storm's arrival. The city's vulnerability to rising sea levels and increasingly powerful hurricanes was brought into sharp focus. The storm's projected path placed Miami directly in the line of fire. Meteorologists warned of catastrophic flooding, widespread wind damage, and potential loss of life. The city's resilience would be tested like never before. The impending arrival of Titan was a stark reminder of the increasing threat posed by climate change to coastal communities around the world. Section 7. The aftermath. Assessing the damage. In the aftermath of Hurricane Titan, the extent of the devastation became tragically clear. The Caribbean islands were left in ruins, with entire communities reduced to rubble. The storm surge had reshaped coastlines, submerging islands and leaving behind a trail of destruction. The human toll was immense, with countless lives lost and thousands displaced. Miami, although spared a direct hit, suffered significant damage. Flooding inundated low-lying areas, high winds tore down power lines, and buildings sustained structural damage. The city's infrastructure was severely compromised, and the recovery process was expected to be long and costly. The storm served as a wake-up call for the city, highlighting the urgent need for improved coastal defenses. The economic costs of the storm were staggering. The damage to homes, businesses and infrastructure amounted to billions of dollars. The disruption to global trade and the energy sector added to the economic burden. The insurance industry faced unprecedented claims, and governments struggled to provide adequate relief and recovery assistance. The emotional toll of the storm was immeasurable. Survivors grappled with the loss of loved ones, the destruction of their homes, and the uncertainty of the future. The psychological scars of Titan would linger for years to come. The storm served as a harsh reminder of the human cost of climate change and the urgent need for action. Section 8. A future of superstorms, climate change and extreme weather. Hurricane Titan was a stark warning of the increasing threat of superstorms in a warming world. Climate change is fueling more powerful and frequent extreme weather events, including hurricanes, floods, droughts and heat waves. As global temperatures continue to rise, the risk of such events will only increase. Warmer ocean temperatures provide the energy that fuels hurricanes, leading to more intense storms. Rising sea levels exacerbate the impact of storm surge, causing more extensive coastal flooding. Changes in atmospheric circulation patterns can influence the track and intensity of hurricanes, making them more unpredictable and dangerous. Scientists predict that superstorms like Titan will become more common in the future. The increasing frequency and intensity of these events will have devastating consequences for coastal communities, economies, and ecosystems around the world. The need for adaptation and mitigation measures is more urgent than ever. The international community must take decisive action to address climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Investing in renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, and protecting and restoring natural ecosystems are essential steps towards mitigating the risks of climate change and building a more sustainable future. Section 9. The Call to Action: Global Cooperation for a Sustainable Future. Hurricane Titan served as a wake-up call for the world. The storm highlighted the interconnectedness of our planet and the urgent need for global cooperation to address climate change. The time for complacency is over. We must act now to protect our planet and future generations. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is paramount. Transitioning to a clean energy economy, investing in renewable energy sources, and improving energy efficiency are essential steps towards mitigating climate change. International agreements, such as the Paris Agreement, provide a framework for global cooperation and action. Adaptation measures are also crucial. Building more resilient infrastructure, developing early warning systems for extreme weather events, and protecting and restoring coastal ecosystems can help reduce the impacts of climate change. Investing in these measures is essential for safeguarding communities and economies. Education and awareness raising are essential for empowering individuals and communities to take action. Promoting climate literacy, fostering dialogue, and encouraging sustainable practices can help create a culture of climate action and build a more sustainable future. Section 10. Titan's Legacy: A Catalyst for Change. Hurricane Titan, despite its devastation, could ultimately serve as a catalyst for change. The storm's unprecedented scale and impact galvanized public opinion and brought the issue of climate change to the forefront of the global agenda. The world witnessed the destructive power of unchecked climate change, and the call for action grew louder. Governments, businesses, and individuals began to recognize the urgency of the situation. Investments in renewable energy increased, policies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions were implemented, and communities began to adapt to the changing climate. The storm's legacy was one of increased awareness and action. The scientific community intensified its research on climate change and extreme weather events. Scientists worked to improve climate models, develop more accurate predictions, and understand the complex interactions between climate change and natural systems. The knowledge gained from these efforts will be crucial for informing future adaptation and mitigation strategies. Hurricane Titan served as a turning point in the fight against climate change. The storm's destructive power served as a stark reminder of the stakes involved and the urgent need for global cooperation to build a more sustainable future. Titan's legacy, though born from tragedy, could ultimately be one of hope and progress.